which Ghana is battling now, due to political reasons, a lot of reasons attached to it, is illegal mining. Currently, Ghana has lost about a quarter of its forest reserve to illegal mining. The next slide will talk briefly about illegal mining. So, this illegal mining, often called galamsey, is derived from the words gather and sell. It is the illegal extraction of gold from deposits, which results in ecological degradation and health complications. When we say illegal, that means that they have not been licensed to do the mining. And those who are not licensed mostly use rudimentary tools like pickers, shovel, and those who have external funds from foreigners as well also buy the excavators for them for the illegal mine. So it becomes illegal at the moment you don't have your license to mine. And if you don't have the license to mine, that means there's no government agencies that's regulating your mining. So most of them, what they do is they enter into most of our forest reserves, clear our forest reserves. They buy the farmland from the farmers because at the end of the farm season, they get some few Ghana cedi, but those who are coming to do the illegal mining buy the land, huge sums of money. So the farmers prefer to sell their lands to them, and they just destroy the land to dig for gold. There are also health complications as well, because with regards to the regularized mining, the Ministry of Health, the Environmental Protection Agency, they are all into it. But the illegal mining, they use mercury, cyanide, and some heavy chemicals to also extract the gold from the deposits. In doing that, they don't give regard to health safety precautions like nose mask, like gloves as well. And one thing that they do is, so we've realized that those areas with the illegal mining, there's been an increase in respiratory diseases, kidney diseases, cancer diseases as well. And also children born there are born without certain parts of their body, maybe without a limb, without a leg, of deformed bodies as well. So those are the health complications. What causes, one of the major things that causes the health complication is the miners know that there's gold at least closer to the water sources. So they dig using the mercury, they dig everything, they process the gold along the water body using the heavy metals as well. It seeps into the water. Those in the villages or those far from the city, those are mainly their sources of drinking water. So they get the heavy metals into their water, they drink it, they use it to cook and those kind of things. So we realize that in the villages where there are the illegal mining going on, that's where the increase of respiratory disease, kidney and cancer goes on as well. So this illegal mining is prevalent throughout the country, but mostly in the western, eastern and Ashanti regions where there's concentrated activity of minerals there. So these are some of the pictures. Please, I don't know if it's changed.
Yeah.
Yes. So please, these are some of the pictures of people engaged in the illegal activity. All these places we see used to be a forest reserve. They've dug. So some of these people, they have, some of the politicians are behind them. So they buy the excavators for them. Those who don't have the politicians or the big men in the society behind them, they use rudimentary tools like the shovel and pickers to destroy our forest. And these are the things, whatever we see there, they have extracted it. The machine we see there, they are extracting the gold from it. The buckets they are holding has mercury, has cyanide in it. So we can look at the health implications as well. And this water also seeps into larger water bodies. And those in the villages are the people whose source are the water bodies. And it goes a long way to affect them. One of the things that is also affecting us is some of these water bodies, those in the villages use it to water the plantation or the crops. When they use it to water them, in the long run, the plantation and the crops end up in the city. So nobody is immune from the effects of the illegal mining. They drink the water, we don't drink the water, but they use the water to irrigate, use for irrigation for their vegetables and the crops, and it also ends in the city. So these are pictures of some of the men engaged in the illegal mining. This is another picture as well. If you can look far ahead, there's a road ahead up there. So they don't mind where they are mining, but so whatever they know that there are gold deposits there, they prefer to mine. Someone will say the pictures are showing just the male. Are females also involved? Yes, females are also involved in the illegal mining. This is a typical forest reserve which has been invaded by the illegal miners as well. Are children involved? Yes, nobody's left out because they get rich overnight. So your dad, your uncle gets rich overnight. He influences maybe your father, your auntie, they get rich overnight. And the children also want to get involved in it. Currently, they are processing, the bucket in yellow has mercury and cyanide. That's what they are using to process the gold. And it ends in the water where the other gentleman is standing. He's using that same water with mercury and cyanide to wash his face. Invariably, some will get into him. So that's why there's a high increase of respiratory and cancer cases in the mostly the villages where the illegal mining is carried out. So some of the impact of this land degradation in Ghana: food insecurity. As I've talked, most of our farmlands are being bought by the illegal miners. So the cash crop, the cocoa, every other thing that is there is being cleared off for them to engage in illegal mining. Currently, we are not seeing the effect of food insecurity, but it has been projected in the next 5 to 10 years. If things are not stopped, there's very likely there will be food insecurity in the country. Loss of biodiversity. Most of the forest reserves also serve as habitat for some plants and animals as well. It's lost, they lose their habitat as well. Economic woes, as has been said, about 1.4 billion USD is lost through land degradation, which is about 6% of our GDP. If that money had stayed in the country or in the system, it could have been used for infrastructural projects to put up hospitals, schools, road, which are going a long way to improve the living conditions of Ghanaians. Water scarcity. The Ghana Water Company Limited takes its source from larger river bodies. They have realized that for the past 10 to 15 years, most of the river bodies have been polluted by heavy metals. So now what they do is now they have to import special chemicals to treat the water before it becomes safe for drinking. So now it takes a longer time in treating the water because of the magnitude of pollution the water has been polluted. It takes a lot longer time in treating them. If it takes a longer time, then that means the production will be very slow. So now certain places also depend on the Ghana Water Company. They are doing water rationing. Area A gets water today, area B doesn't get. Tomorrow area B gets it, area A doesn't get. So it's also causing water scarcity in the system, especially those. So now people have resorted to drilling their own boreholes at home, so that they don't depend on the Ghana Water Company Limited. The health challenges, I've already talked about it. Increase in respiratory diseases, kidney and cancer diseases as well. So the problem statements. So in the Densu River Basin, which is an ecologically rich basin, there's been changes in the land use land cover, which has resulted in the reduction of different vital resources. Now the problem now is information with regards to the decline of the vital resources often lacking. So it makes it difficult for the stakeholders to monitor changes and assess the impact on the environment. So the aim of this work is just to assess the land degradation in the Densu River Basin of Ghana from 1991 to 2020. So this is the steady area. The Densu Basin has a population of about 600,000. The area is about 692,665 acres. It covers 3 administrative regions. Initially, I said Ghana has 16 administrative regions. So the Densu Basin covers 3 administrative regions. Ghana Water also has its own treatment plants, 2 treatment plants within the basin. Sorry. So this is a flowchart of the methodology. So with regards to this work, it's broken down into 2 parts. The first part that deals with the land use land cover classification, and the second one deals with coming up with the degradation maps as well. So I'll briefly talk on the second part, which is the one to my left. Landsat images were used 1991, 2002, 2002, 2008, 2014, and 2020. And there were about 5 classes that were dominant within the study area: forest, farmland, grassland and shrub as one class, bare land and settlement, and water. Pre-processing was done, carried out, geometric, atmospheric correction, and every other thing. Random forest classification algorithm was used, and accuracy assessment was done. In the long run, we had a land use land cover maps as well. Sorry. So for the second part that deals with the degradation, for this project there were 2 variables that were used, mainly the rainfall and the soil moisture, and NDVI as well. A lot of data analysis was carried out, everything done in R, and it was broken down into 2. Now the ordinary least square regression, that deals with the climatic factors, the impact of rainfall and soil moisture on vegetation growth or land degradation. So with regards to the ordinary least square regression, what it does is it establishes a linear relationship between a dependent variable, in this case the NDVI, and the independent variable, in this case either rainfall or soil moisture. So that's it. So in totality, you get a map that will tell you that, okay, places that are positive, If rainfall increases, then NDVI also increase. At this point, if rainfall decreases, these are the places that are likely to be affected. The NDVI and the vegetation growth is very likely to be affected. With regard to the risk trend, which is the residual trend analysis, that deals with the anthropogenic factors. So for that, it predicts NDVI based on the observed NDVI and rainfall or soil moisture. So the difference between the observed NDVI and the predicted NDVI, which is the residual. So now a regression model is done using the residuals against time. And the assumption here is rainfall or soil moisture doesn't have an influence on degradation. So now we are telling us that the model has been designed in a way that if rainfall or soil moisture doesn't have an influence, that means the influence now we are dealing with is what anthropogenic factors. For the ordinary least square regression model, the assumption is that rainfall and soil moisture has an influence on degradation. So that is how it comes about. Then we produce degradation maps, which will be showed in the next slides. So please, with regards to the land use land cover map, as I said, 1991, 2002, 2008, 2014, and 2020, within the entire study period, forest had decreased by 10.27%, farmland had decreased by 12.19%. It can be attributed to the fact that, as I said earlier, urbanization. The basin has realized that there's been an influx of people coming into the basin because of ecological benefits as well. There are a lot of government institutions within the basin, Ghana water within the basin. Also, 40% of those within the basin are also into agriculture. So there are a lot of influx of people there. But in Ghana, there are chiefs are the custodians of land. Most places you can't go and buy land, but in Ghana you can go to the chief and buy land. And within the study period, price of land had increased over 200%. So it had forced most of the chiefs to start selling their lands because they want to get for economic gain as well. They will tell you they sell the land so that they can also develop their communities as well. It was realized in the entire study period, grassland and shrub had increased by 4.8%. That was attributed to the fact that most people put out the structure and also plant shrubs and grassland for beautification purposes. So the increase in settlement is pushing for the increase in grassland and shrub. Bare land and settlement had increased by 17.19% from 1991 to 2020, and it's also attributed to the fact that most of these forest and farmland had been converted to residential, industrial, and commercial purposes as well. It had been sold for people to put up structures. And also most of the illegal mining activities, because they clear the vegetation and the agricultural produce as well. Now they start to mine. Now the whole land becomes a bare land. So basically that is it. And water body also increased slightly by 0.47% within the entire study period. So I just brought these two Landsat images, these two classified images, 1991 and 2020, for us to know the extent of degradation. So all the red we see are bare land and settlement. Initially there used to be a lot of forest and farmland within the system, but now you can see there are a lot of red spots within the system, showing that bare land and settlement have increased. Aside the urbanization, aside the increase in the price of land, illegal mining has also caused a lot of bare lands into the basin. So please, the linear slope analysis of rainfall and soil moisture. So the A is rainfall. So the negative values, the positive values tells us that this one talks about the effect of the climatic factors on NDVI. So the positive values, which are the light green ones, tells us that NDVI value increases when there's a rainfall increase. At those places, the tendency that when it's increasing to increase is very high. But looking at the northern part, it is telling that when the NDVI, so rainfall pattern is decreasing, the higher percentage of the northern part will decrease at a faster rate. In the sense that in Ghana, most of our agriculture is rain-fed. So now this map, we can also give it to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and tell them that, okay, since you have been having a decreasing rainfall pattern, so our task is to make sure that we educate those, especially on the northern part of the state area, that they should also help to cultivate water or to save water, or they should have other sources of irrigation for their tree crops or for their agriculture activities or any other activity going over there. So that is basically for the left-hand side. The decreasing value tells us that if rainfall decreases, the NDVI values at that place is decreasing rapidly. And the positive value is telling us that if rainfall increases, the NDVI, there's also an increase basically at the southern section as well. To the left, that is the soil moisture. There are negative values all over. That tells us about the impact of soil moisture on vegetation growth. Because that, all the vegetation, the roots takes its strength basically from the water. So if there's a decrease in soil moisture, it's going to affect vegetation growth within the entire study area. I've seen a study whereby there were some places with positive values. So those places, it was also attributed to the fact that the soil there is able to hold water for a very long time. That's why they had positive values over there. But it also concluded that if it's done over a longer period, there's less soil moisture over a longer period, then that place automatically would also have a low vegetation growth. So please, the next one is the residual trend analysis. In this one, the assumption is that rainfall and soil moisture does not have an effect on degradation, just anthropogenic activities. So all places with negative values tells us that, okay, so these places are places that there's degradation, fine. But the degradation is caused by anthropogenic activities, not the effect of soil moisture or less soil moisture or less, soil moisture or less rainfall pattern. And from field studies, it's also realized that the southern part, because it's along the coast, there's salt mining, there's sand winning as well. And also a lot of the other patches we see, they're also illegal mining activities. The brown small patches we see, they're also illegal mining activities going on there. So that tells us that, okay, so those places where patches, the degradation there is caused by anthropogenic activities and not rainfall or soil moisture. So I'll go to the last results, and this one, with regards to this one, is just the temporal trend or the temporal pattern of NDVI based on the NDVI residual against time. So the negative values tells us that, okay, within that period, the effect of rainfall on vegetation was low. That means rainfall, there was a decreasing pattern of rainfall and caused a decreasing pattern of vegetation growth. And the places whose NDVI residual values are down or negative actually corresponds to times, especially in the late 80s and early 90s, there was a series of droughts in most part of West Africa. So this also corresponds to the seasons of droughts which has been experienced in Ghana. So that tells us that within that specific period, the NDVI values of vegetation growth was very low. But the places that are positive or above the bar, that shows us that the NDVI values of vegetation growth was high within that specific period of time. Sorry. So in conclusion, from 1991 to 2020, forest and farmland decreased by 10.27% and 12.19% respectively, whilst grassland and shrub increased by 4.8%, wetland and settlement decreased by 17.19%, water body increased by 0.47%, and from the residual trend analysis, anthropogenic activities mostly caused a decrease mostly at the southern part of the study area, with a few patches within the study area. Sorry. These are the references that were used. Thank you.
So, dear Dr. Beng, thank you very much for that interesting presentation, and I think we have time for questions now.
Okay.
Are there any questions in the audience? Just a moment. Dr. Beng, we have a micro here. We have to put it to work just. There is a question.
Are you hearing me? I think so. Thank you for your presentation. I want to ask question that you have said that the NDVI is predicted and calculated in your presentation. How did you get the predicted value of the NDVI? Because is there any source you have get the predicted value of NDVI? Did you?
Okay. Please. Okay, so please, with regards to the predicted NDVI, normally we look at their trend over the period of time as well. So we use it to also do the prediction. And now with the advent of deep learning as well, sometimes we can go to program and also look at the pattern. Then we can predict that in the next term or maybe the future, this pattern. We also use it based on the pixel as well.
Oh, okay. And another is, how did you calculate the moisture of the soil? Like what were the parameters? Could you explain more for me?
Okay, so what I use, unfortunately, I forgot to talk about that data as well. So I use the NOAA, the Climate Prediction Center. It's just like the CHIPS reference. It's a remote sense data as well. But what it does is it goes to a column depth of about 1.6 meters, and also know that between 1 and 2 meters depth, that's where there's very likely soil moisture will evaporate into the atmosphere. So most of the images were used, were satellite images that were used for the analysis. Unfortunately, we don't have a gauge data for soil moisture, so we can just have to just based on literature to know whether it fits or works perfectly in our settings as well.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that question. There is another one. Just a moment.
Thank you, Dr. Obeng, for your very good presentation. I would like just to learn more with regards to how you, because like from how you connect the land cover change to the issues of land degradation, so that because I think maybe from what I was understanding, I was getting more of it being more of the effect of land cover changes. So I just want you to be able to explain a bit more so that I can understand on how you connect it to land degradation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So basically what we do is when we are done with the land use land cover map, we put it side by side with the residual or the degradation maps. Just serves as a confirmation. So you can see that even on the land use land cover map, at the southern part, those places were red, showing the presence of settlement and bare land as well. So it's just a sort of a check. There are certain places, the illegal mine, what they are doing is most of them, they are doing it in the forest reserves. And sometimes when the drone is going through, they shoot the drone because they don't want their presence to be seen so that the military can go there. So sometimes we use these satellite images and just as a check, just to validate what we've done. We also use the land use land cover map just to put it side by side and just to confirm whether truly the land, because there are two distinct things. If it was the land use land cover was also gotten from the degradation, then we can say it's influencing it. But just do the land use land cover as a separate thing, we do the degradation also as a separate thing. So as it serves as sort of a check for us as well. So basically that's the connection between them.
Okay, thank you. And maybe one more question. For one more question, we have the time. If not, that was all. But Dr. Beng, do you hear me? Dr. Beng, do you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay, then you have to stay a little bit online because Dr. William Barragan wants to speak some words, and I think it concerns you. So stay online, and I give the word now to Dr. Barragan.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Obeng and everybody. As organizer, it's true honor to announce that the next year we'll meet in Ghana, in Africa, for Applied Geoinformatics Society and Environment 2026. This event will be a unique opportunity to share knowledge, explore innovation, solution, and geoinformatics. And our global network will increase. We look forward to see you there to continue collaborating with more sustainable future. Thank you so much, Dr. Obeng.
Thank you very much. And Ghana is honored to also have you. My university will also host you as well. So unfortunately, we were supposed to come to learn a few things, but hopefully we'll do everyone the honors and host everyone very well in Ghana. So hopefully next year we're expecting that all of us will come to Ghana. And also, aside the academics and the things we learn, we are also very hopeful that there will tourist sites and every other thing as well, just to engage ourselves. So we look forward to everyone in Ghana next year.
Thank you.
thanks a lot. So now you are free to leave online, or you can stay. I recommend you to stay because I think we will have. I think we will have some more very interesting presentations still. So
thank you very much.
then I want to announce the next speaker, a well-known speaker here in Colombia, because it's Professor Angela Blanco-Vogt. Before 2010, she established her expertise in Colombia, working as a project manager and training leader for GIS consulting companies and as a project officer for the AGSE project update of the maps of environmental hazards in Bogotá. Her academic foundation was formed at this university, at the Universidad Distrital, where she earned a degree in cadastral engineering and geodesy in 2002, and a specialization in geographic information system also in 2002. The rest of her career is missing here in that paper that I have, but fortunately I have some information. Currently she is a professor at the HFT Stuttgart, and we are colleagues now since a short time, and I welcome this very much. So please, Angela, the floor is yours.
Now what to make?
Dr. Eben, did you want to say something?
Now I can leave, he said.
Okay.
No, please, very sorry.
Okay, no problem.
So,
Wait.
oh, okay. So, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I hope you are doing very well. So, today I'm going to present challenges and prospects for the sharing of geospatial information, a case study in flood risk management. So, what are you seeing here? You're seeing a flood, and this is in the municipality of Regensburg. So thank you very much to Sidhan Rohi, because he helped in his master thesis to process and to analyze some data. Before I start with the slides, I would like to you to have a small exercise. This is 3 minutes exercise. So the first task, please turn to the person next to you. So, go a little closer to this person. Yeah, yeah.
So we need to make a group.
Yeah, to make a group. Yeah. So, behind there. Yeah. Okay. Nice. So, everyone has a person as partner. Yes? Very well. The next part is decide who will be person A and who will be person B. Yes? Okay. So the next task, person A, please raise the hand. Who is person A? Very well. So you person A, you are the urban planning director for a community with 1 million inhabitants. Imagine 1 million inhabitants is like Colombia. Colombia has, or also maybe in Colombia, Cali. Okay, Cali maybe has more inhabitants. So imagine that's in this role. Now, person B. You are the disaster and risk manager in this city. Yes? So what are your priorities? Resilience, safety, and preparing for the worst. You think about floods, earthquakes, power outage, and pandemics. Your job is to protect life and critical infrastructure. And for the urban planning, the priority is growth, sustainability, create an enable, thriving city for the future. So imagine in this role. So you both work for the same city, but with different perspectives. So you have also in charge a team with many activities, but you have to work also together. So the next question, you don't have to solve the question right now, is for the break. So this is the task for the break. What kind of information will your institution produce and share? Just that. Think about that. Urban planning and disaster manager. You have different focus. Now I start with the background of my presentation. So we continue with the role later. So we know, and we have seen in the previous 3 days, different global challenge, and one of the global challenges is climate change, and more frequent and severe flooding in the world. Communities are facing unprecedented impacts on life, infrastructure, and economics. Here I have some statistics. So number of flood disasters worldwide from 1990 to 2023. So this is a trend. And now the economic losses in Europe, just in Europe. Imagine in the last, here is just 3 years for 2020 to 2023, but the trend is increasing. And the most infrastructure, the most are the damages. So in Europe, we have a lot of damages. But now, imagine you have a coordinator in the state. And I have decided that this coordinator for disaster manager in this role is Michael. You are the coordinator for all the cities. And you have to think about what kind of information you need to prevent, to react, to recover at the different disasters. Now this is your role. That happened in 2022, or there was a flood event in Germany. Actually, it was in 2021. But the the minister of this region decided to go to vacations while the people were suffering and losing their properties, and there was a loss of lives. So the minister was asked to resign because she failed to fulfill her duties during the disaster. She didn't consider the severity of the damage and loss of life before going on holidays. So that can happen. That happened in Germany, and also that can happen in every part, because she didn't know the severity of the problem. Now we have to think about which information must other institutions produce and share to overcome interoperability barriers in flood risk management. So think in other institutions. Here I have a chart. So we need information from the Ministry of Rural Development, the Ministry of Utilities, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Planning and Development. So we have to be aware about what other information we need for other institutions. Other institutions, for example, to prevent, to preparedness, to response, and to recover. Hydrological models, data about the infrastructure, public reports. But most of the case, we receive the information in different formats, scales, and different semantic definitions. So you, in your team, you have also some specialists, geographic information specialists, analysis specialists, but they have to deal with different type of information. So this is something that this leads to one of the biggest pain points in flood risk management today, integrating and harmonizing all this data into a single, usable, interoperable system. Maybe you remember the classes of Professor Schroeder about solutions. He told you there is a solution. Do you think what could be the solution? Do you remember some important concept?
GIS, spatial analysis.
Yes, a little more.
SIS, spatial information system.
A spatial data infrastructure. So, do you remember this concept? Very well. So, in this concept, we have many different components, standards, metadata, human and technical resources, policies, institutional arrangement, communications. So, now, Michael, he knows the solution. He say, okay, all your different municipalities and cities must to use a special data infrastructure. Let's do it. Yeah? Do you remember there are some standards and there are also norms, ISO norms for metadata. And we have to communicate between us and to have some agreements to share our information. Very well. So, Michael, you are the person who will coordinate those teams. In Europe, we have, maybe you remember, INSPIRE. This is the directive mandates the European member states standardized spatial data and make this accessible via interoperable web services. We have also in Germany the geospatial data infrastructure, and we can share the data with our specific standards. I know there is, in every country, there is a special data infrastructure. Sometimes we forget that they exist. And we have also these ISO norms to implement, that is very important, to describing accuracy, time coverage, licensing. So the work that you produce, for example, primarily, you produce a very valuable results. Could be nice if you can present those results into an infrastructure. Or, yeah, everyone has presented very valuable data produced that can be shared. And this is a very important institution for us and also for our communities, because we have those protocols from the Open Geospatial Consortiums. So we don't have to start from zero. So Michael said we are going to implement this special data infrastructure for our municipalities using these regulations. Well, I wanted to show you the best practice from the city of Hamburg, because they are doing a very important job as example with many different pilot projects. And they have integrated regulations, they have created some master portals, online resources, applications, open data, collaborations and partnerships. So, remember, you are going to implement this special data infrastructure, and we have an example of the city of Hamburg. They have setting standards, integrating and awareness, and also they have this core of data. What is the river that crosses Hamburg? Do you remember? Which river is there? El Elbe. The Elbe. Yeah? And also Hamburg is suffering from floods, and they have to prevent, and they are sharing many information to prevent. So, what different types we need or we know for sharing data related with flood risk management? So here I have a short list, but there are a lot of formats. So imagine in your institution you are receiving data from different sources and you have to combine and process and to provide results. It's not an easy task. So this is something that we did with Sidhan, the student, and he tried to combine different sources of data from different institutions in the same geoportal from the city of Regensburg. There are very important data, values data from the German Aerospace Center, but they don't provide any public API. The Bavaria flood notification service, they don't have any open API. So they have very important data for our analysis, but we cannot get those data. Basablik, that is water is view. They have also some maps, but they are very static. Bavaria Environment Atlas, they had also aesthetic scenarios. The German geoportal is a complex interface, and the state of Regensburg, they don't have any APIs to combine those data to other systems, and also no real time for monitoring. They have some data, but they are very close. They show some images in the web pages, but nobody can get those data. Also, the student also analyzed what happened with the standardization of flood data across Europe, but in the practice, the data are incompatible with the scheme. There are different barriers. So imagine in your office, as urban planning, you wanted to analyze what happened with flood risk management. You wanted to build a school. So, and you think, okay, I can get those data close to this river because it's the place that we can have permissions to build, in this case, this school, but you can combine any data. So flood management involves laws from various sectors and levels, which in German often operate in parallel rather than in an unison. This can result overlapping and unclear mandates. Sometimes they are producing the same information that they don't know. The Regensburg case demonstrates that agencies tend to operate in silos. It reveals the necessity for policy reforms that prioritize data interoperability and stakeholder coordinations. And also an important aspect is about data privacy laws. Germany is very powerful in this law, but sometimes interpreted so strictly that even government agencies hesitate to share data with each other. Not all regions or municipalities have equal capacity to implement advanced flood risk management technologies. There are financial and human resource disparities. So here is like the challenges that we have in Germany. And in Germany, there are a lot of investment in this part. But imagine in other countries like in Colombia, there are no coordination between the different agencies. So therefore, we need to integrate another component, or there are another emerging technologies that we have to take into account. So the next slide shows, okay, to say that this is the concept of spatial data infrastructure. We have additional components from the smart cities, and we have to integrate it in a secure environment. So this is the proposal of Chaturvedi. So here in the next slide, we can see this integration between spatial data infrastructure and a smart city is not well researched in many parts of the world. Here we see in Germany with highest research activities, and because they are integrating those concepts more than the standards metadata, but integrating with the other data visualization, 3D modeling, okay, all those related with antennas. So this is the part that we have to integrate. the standards and now with the technologies. So we have heard about the concept of smart cities, but I had here the definition from the European Commission. A smart city is a place where traditional networks and services are made more efficient with the use of digital solutions for the benefit of its inhabitants and business. Maybe you can remember some German words here. Smarte Wasserversorgung. Do you remember what is that? Wasserversorgung? Yeah, water supply. Smarte Verwaltung. And German, very important word. Smarte Gebäude, so smarte Administration, smarte Buildings, smarte Education, Gesundheitsvorsorgen. Very good, very good. Stadtplanung. City planning, so very good. So, German is powerful on these aspects. So, and this is good because we can know these terms and we can use it also for our applications. So there are many technologies involved into smart cities. For example, the city information modeling. What is the building information modeling? This is for building designs, offering an integrated platform for the delivery, monitoring, and long-term maintenance of sustainable buildings. But in your city, you as urban planner, you need the data from the city's information modeling. So urban design, so the pipes and infrastructure and roads must be integrated into the elements of the smart cities. So we have heard about sensors. This is the ubiquitous sensor refers to the idea of using numerous sensors often wirelessly connected to collect data about the environment and its inhabitants. So we have to implement different standards to communicate between our institutions in order that Michael can take the right decision at the right time. So from the Open Geospatial Consortium, we have these standards. So if you are going to buy some sensor, please ask if the standard provides this data connection to transfer those data. If not, you may have some problems to connect those data into your systems. So, and this is provided from the Open Geospatial Consortium, because you have these classes that take to collect the data in an organized way, and you can share those data to other institutions. So Hamburg also provides us these sensor things, and they are installing different sensors. For example, here, Elektrolade-Standort in Hamburg, so the station to share your bicycle or your car. So a company decided to create an application that uses those data. So this company can be sure that the data have good quality, they are secure with the protocols needed to share. So therefore, it's good that the cities and the companies work together using the same protocol, that we can speak the same language. So Hamburg provides us these connected urban twins, and this is the regulations and the standards from all these different APIs. And also Hamburg is working together with municipalities of cities like Munich and Leipzig. So if you can enter to this link, you can see different examples of applications. The data provided from the cities that can be used for private, for the communities, from the citizens, from the academic, and all of them are speaking the same languages. Other cities, for example, some more small communities are using just collecting data from the sensors, and they provide those information to the in geoportals or digital twins. So there are another standards that is needed as urban planning and risk management. And those standards, maybe you have heard about this format. This is for Building Information Modeling, EFC. But this is just for the building, all the elements in the building. This is for the city, with the, for example, bricks, bridges, and tunnels, and buildings. But between the buildings elements and the city elements, there are other aspects for the construction and architecture, and this standard is called land infra. Now the problem, we had a lot of standards, and now is how to combine those standards into an integrated application. So the state of the art shows a strong progress in interoperability, but challenges remaining in adoption, scalability, and real-time data integration. Here there is another additional concept, smart district data infrastructure. This framework provides a way to integrate heterogeneous resources, such as actors and stakeholders applications, urban analytics tools, sensors, and IoT devices with a virtual district model. So here's also an example that we can combine CityGML, EFC. We can have here different dashboards measuring, for example, here energy consumptions. But we can do all those applications if we have a regulation of open data. And also I am very happy that Germany in the last years has removed license for data sets that cost before, and now we can download those data from, for example, digital elevation modeling, ortho imagery, and cadastral data. So now it's more safe that we can use those data for different applications. Well. And also we have in this big concept of a smart city more immersive technologies. Here, I don't know, maybe I can show that. Oh. Okay, one moment. This is an example. So, this is an example to simulate events, and we combine. Moment. This is an example of a student, also from the Hochschule. Okay, cannot continue. So he integrated different standards for develop this integration of building information modeling, CityGML, and now he's doing simulations with Unreal Engine. So this is a game program for game. Maybe you remember yesterday we did, I showed a simulation with computational fluid dynamics. This is also for a game, but it can help the stakeholders. It can help, for example, Ricardo or the other person to analyze more the different scenarios. So it's something that we can also integrate in our projects, how to deal with this metaverse. And Professor Rodas yesterday showed us what is the advantage also for machine learning, and we have different examples from the last presentation. But I think we have not forget that we have also the natural intelligence, and that's what we are doing here. We can communicate we have this analysis, spatial analysis, this logical intelligence. And it's that we have to convince the others, convince our team, convince our boss that our technologies are needed to solve the different problems that we have in the planet. So therefore, the natural intelligence, we have also to continue thinking that is much important than the artificial intelligence. That's what we are doing right now in this event. That is part of our natural intelligence. So the third part of this concept, spatial data infrastructure, a smart city, is the security. In Europe, we have this General Data Protection Regulations. And here we have to think if we connect a sensor to measure the height or to measure the temperature, that we are not capturing data from other movement of people, because we are against this law, against the law of human rights law and privacy. So here I have a map, what are the data protection heat map. Europe are very strong with good data regulations. But for example, what is the example from Varna yesterday? He is implementing many logarithms here on the Amazons. And Bolivia wants to integrate into this analysis. So Bolivia, in this case, had a limited data protections. So a person can decide to install a sensor and get data from persons that they are not allowed to be collected in another countries. So this is also a list of the different regulations for the different countries. So Colombia is so moderate, it's not so robust, it's moderate, so it's a lot of work to do. I wonder here that everyone is interchanging data using WhatsApp. In Europe is not, or in Germany is not so common, because your telephone number is private. You cannot give your telephone number to other person. But I see here it's very normal to share using WhatsApp. We don't know exactly what is behind these applications that they are using our data. So continue with the proposal of Chaturvedi. The team proposed that we use many protocols for authentications, authorizations. There are also some standards and protocols that we can enter or collect data. So we can ask for CTGML, we can ask for data from the sensors, but using a secure standards and authentication systems. So what is the proposal? The urban planning, who are the urban planning in this role? Very good. And the disaster manager. You can enter, you can receive data from the other institutions if you use those standards. And also the citizens, they can get a login and they can get some information just for a specific area. From the weather application, from disaster management, and all those other different sensors. And here is a small list of these standards. This is for authentications and authorizations. And this is also a standard from the AGSE, GeoCML, for fine-grained authorizations. So for example, are you allowed to visualize the data from a specific gauge in this area? According to your position, or you in your house, for the address of your house, you are allowed to see some specific data. So this is the way that we can control who is going to access such specific information. So is this clear? Well, so we are living in this beautiful country, beautiful planet, the world. This world doesn't have borders. We as humans define those borders, the borders. The flood happens, the earthquake happens. We have thinking about our borders that we define in our brain. So we have to think about more than the borders that are defined by our brains. And we have also to consider that it's the good thing for our profession that we can analyze different aspects. For the citizen engagement, they are also collected data, how to process and manage the data. We understand what is governance between the institutions. We understand different legal and regulations, guidelines, and also the special technologies. And all of these elements integrated into these three principal fundamentals of special data infrastructures, the new technology of smart cities, the securities, and we have to trust in public institutions, trust in our knowledge. Now for the break, as you could like to maybe think about what information are you going to share or produce in your institution, which information must other institutions produce and share to overcome interoperability barriers in flood risk management. So here we have some conclusions, but this is an open conclusions. How to integrate or harmonize these data sets and use together into a single system, and with the exercise of Regenburg, we found out there are many challenges. We have to create this robust spatial data infrastructure, also integrating all the different technologies of the smart cities applications. And the technology advance must be coupled with a strong governance and security. And therefore, we have those protocols, standards from the AGSE, and also the data protection protocols, and all of these different standards to ensure privacy and build the public trust necessary for widespread adoption and the use to potential sensible data. Good, here are some references, and thank the DAD for this event, the professor, the university, and the alumni.
So, Angela, thank you very much for this very good presentation. I liked your introduction pretty much. You wanted us to think. We are not used to that anymore so much. We are more occupied by consuming information, not that much time left to think. So that was good. And we are nearly back on time, but I think we still have some time for questions. So 2 or 3 questions maybe. Dietrich? Yes, I could stay here with the microphone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, yeah. It's working? No? Can you hear me? No. For this very interesting presentation. I'm now working since 33 years in the domain of geoinformation, and since this time we are discussing about interoperability and the standards. So my first question is, why it is so difficult to define standards in our area? And does it really make sense to have different standards? Do we need standards from the OGC, or it is not better to use standards which are used in other areas in the W3W, for example? Or do we need special standards for special data that makes it more complex? What is your opinion about that?
Yeah, we are dealing with coordinate systems, with references, with information from the space, and maybe other standards that are considered such elements. And we have to think also in these big data concepts, because maybe the web pages, they have some information displayed using some specific standards, but we have to use all those knowledge and to locate those in standards. Also, the coordinate system is a part of those standards. And yeah, I think it's necessary that we continue creating those standards. The standards are created, all these standards, then the thing we have to use it. The standard here, the API, or what is the difference? So it is necessary that we can, because, for example, working with architects, the architects, most of them, they don't know what is the standard of coordinate systems. So therefore, they can locate the building in any place of the world. But we need this standard also to communicate with the different disciplines. So those standards, what is my list of standards? Here, for example, those standards. This is the way that we interact with other professions. Here with architects, here with civil engineers, with designers, and it's the way that we communicate with the different disciplines.
Okay, but which makes it much complex.
Yes, it is not easy. It is not easy, and I think there is not could be a standard that solves the complexity. So the thing that is how to integrate and make it interoperable is the task. And we have to work continuously doing those aspects. I know, for example, Professor Kors integrated in this CTGML different apps or add-ons for simulations. So this is complex. This CTGML is complex. It's not easy to implement, but it's something that I think with the future we can understand better those schemes and to integrate it into the process. This is a hard task. Yeah.
Thank you. My second question, if allowed, is related to open data policy. I mean, in Germany, not just the fees has been released, but we have now open data policy. This means all governmental data, firstly, is open data. And then the government has to define which data is not open for privacy reasons. So it's a totally complementary change in policy now. Still also what privacy can also be discussed even in the European Union. It's not well defined. Let me take an example. Ownership of cadastral data. In Germany, it's not open. In Austria, just neighboring state, it is open. So still it can be discussed. But do you think that this open data policy will also have some effect on SDI and other interoperability issues, what we have shown?
Yes, we can think about this open data for the people or the community that are interested on those data. So, for example, if we are living in Stuttgart, we can download just the data for Stuttgart. Or if we can use some project in Stuttgart, we are building a road, a bridge. Just this company has access to the specific data. So therefore, I think it is good that we have some restrictions who can download those data, but using those protocols of security. Not all the data must be open. Open, okay, it's open, but with restriction for the specific uses. And we can control these uses using those protocols. So, yes, it's necessary to have open data, but with who is going to download and use those data. So you can get your account, and from this account, you have more information. Yeah, I'm a little afraid what happened, for example, with the information that we provide for Russia, or countries that they are interested also in implement some technologies in Europe. They don't have to have all this information, just specific users can access to this information. Yeah, it's a very no easy topic, I think.
Okay, do you hear me? Yes, long question, long answer.
Sorry.
Maybe one more question, and then we have to go to the next session.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Just speak loud.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm just wondering, maybe how do you imagine, like, all this data can be used as training data as a part of a big machine learning model that anyone can have access. And just imagine, like, maybe it's a specific country that will get all this data and training, or I'm just wondering, how do you imagine this scenario?
Yeah, we have an example from yesterday from Ecuador, Varna. We have all this big data, the different training data, and you can implement those different analyses in Europe, in Asia. So the data are there. But for example, some specific data that here from the city information model must have some restrictions. All those pipe or communications data, they must be not open for everyone. If you want to create an application, you need some access, some regulations that you don't share those data. Yeah, it depends on the application. So we must restrict the data that we need for the security of our cities, but there are other data that must be open.
Okay, that was it. Sorry for saying long question, long answer. That was an interesting question. It was a very good answer. So thank you for this. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your nice presentation. And then we can go directly to the next technical session. And I will pass the baton to Angela. Okay, she will be the chair for the next session. Thank you.
See you first. I also want to copy. You have to copy. No. Go up to.
So we continue with the technical section, data sharing and collaborating geoinformation portals. And from Professor Franz José there. So I think everyone knows you, and you can start with the presentation.
Where do we start? She said we should copy here.
Alice, did you already plug in the...
Yes. Oh, I blocked the USB port. Here's my presentation.
No, ya está conectado, ya funcionará.
Ya está conectado.
Sí.
¿Sí?
You cannot copy it up there, no?
La presentación está acá.
La presentación.
Luego no fue la que me pasó ahorita.
No,
Sí, no.
es que esa es otra presentación.
Esta es otra.
Esa es otra, ahorita la ponemos.
Sí, ya le pongo la presentación.
You present. He is going to put your presentation.
No, my one is here. Should be here. This is his one.
Okay, yeah, we can put it later. And
Yeah, but I don't find my one.
yeah, that's
And where's my one? No. Keynote.
Tips.
economically and politically by major international powers. And this is achieved through various instruments like economic dependencies, monetary control, and in some cases even military interventions. And if we look back in the history, I would say even in the history of the South American states, we can observe this, and we can observe this as well nowadays. It's really astonishing. And this means what he says, basically, we have to analyze the situation in our continent and showing what is going on, and observe the role of the international monopolies. Well, regarding colonialism, we can say that economies are firmly in the hands of corporations from the so-called global north. And this is what we can observe is the curse of the global south, like Colombia and other countries. We have enriched them in natural resources, or in Venezuela, or in Congo, or in etc., in many countries. But these countries are just the suppliers of unprocessed raw material needed for digitalization. And there's little domestic value generated. And there's one example I came across as a company, Glencore, in Switzerland. And perhaps, who knows Glencore? Oh, okay. And one of the world leading commodity companies, and they're working in many fields, as you can see here, but there are proven allegations of human rights violations, tax manipulation, corruption in different countries, and environmental pollution, etc., etc. Look, they don't dig things in Switzerland. They dig it in Colombia, for example, as you can see here. Well, now I can come to digital colonization. This as well. This regards software, hardware, and network, and everything, all the infrastructure, and it's implemented in our homes, in our institutions, in the companies and public administration as well. Dominated definitely by US American institutions and companies. And I will give you two examples from, at least from the Open Geospatial Consortium. Okay, I'm a great fan of the Open Geospatial Consortium. But if we look here, we can see big players. I'm not really sure if it's the full list, like Microsoft, Google, Oracle, Esri, of course, and Frontex, if somebody knows Frontex, €1 billion every year, I guess, goes to Frontex to defend the European borders. Okay, can anybody show us the companies from the global south? From South America? 9. Okay. Or Asia? Okay, let us continue. Now, this is a list of the staff of AGSE. Who is from the global south? Who? No one. No, definitely says no one. Some candidate could be this one, perhaps, but it comes from UK. Okay, now I hope that they do a good job and have every parts of the earth in her mind. Now I continue with the data colonialism and where do data flow. And you can see a little bit of the internet backbones around Africa and South Africa, and in the background you see also the backbone across the Atlantic Oceans. And so, well, definitely we can say, this is good. We have connection, we have internet. But there are people who interpret it totally different. Like, we have fiber optic cables expanding along old colonial routes, which were often also used to ship slaves. And if you can consider if this is true, okay, and where are the data stored and processed and analyzed for artificial intelligence? Basically, we have a focus in the USA, a little less importance in the European Union. We can observe India, of course, and we have East Asia and a little bit elsewhere. We don't see much in Africa. We don't see much in South America. Why? Don't they use computers in this area? Well, and there's already also processing capabilities with the amount of data center capacity. We can see that USA is number one, followed by China and the European Union. Okay, this means it's very clear. And where are the actors? And I found this diagram of the UN Trade and Development Organization, and it shows the difference between 2017 and 2025. And in blue, you see the United States. We could say the importance of the United States is a little bit decreasing, and what is increasing is a part of China. And I guess, and this is a result, what you can read up there, of President Xi Jinping's strategy to transform China into a cyber superpower. Great, we need more power. Or no, they need more power. Definitely. And there are clearly, how should I say, ideas which are you can read in the internet of this superpower of China over the internet. And China's internet is definitely different from our internet or the original internet, which was about freedom and exchange of ideas, etc., etc. I skip my further remarks about China. Well, we have a confrontation between unequal partners, and we have some kind of tension between individual nations and tech companies, and also individuals and nations and individuals and tech companies. And this is a struggle, and we have, we should notice it and take care. And especially, let me say, the European is very aware about the influence of these big tech companies, and there are all these struggles going on against Google and Amazon, or getting rid of Microsoft software. Okay, now I could go into details regarding the data policies of different blocks like China, European Union, and USA, and definitely it's different, a totally different mindset. Nevertheless, we can observe as well there's an inflow of investments into developing countries regarding different fields of information communication technology. Especially, we can observe that in Africa there are a lot of investments done, but these investments are done by foreign companies. That's the difference. It's not the local industry. Okay, now let me, in our home, let me just see notice this in the middle, we are trapped, and I know this and I can observe this, at least in my case, in a circle of apps and in bubbles created by streams of posts and advertisements, targeted specifically to me. This is what happens. And I would say it's still increasing, the thing. Okay, now I come to the wealth of people. There's a yearly updated list of billionaires in the world, and here you see like the top 10 people. As you will know that it's Elon Musk is on the top, followed by Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos, etc., etc. If you look to the right, you can see it's quite often about technology. This means this is a field where very a lot of income is generated. Then you can scroll down and on rank 3037, Jack Tangerman appears, the founder and owner of AGSE. Now, he's listed to have a net worth of 8.9 billion US dollars. This means approximately 35 trillion pesos. Now, if you are a AGSE user, just imagine your pesos flowing to California, etc., etc. And therefore, he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy, definitely different from the other guys attending Donald Trump's inauguration. But nevertheless, we should take open source into account. Now, what we can do, I will briefly introduce three things: degrowth, then unplug Trump idea, and the focus on open source, more or less. Degrowth is a development model that rejects the increase in economic output. I'm convinced we cannot have growth and growth and growth measured by the GDP. Instead, and I think most of us will agree, we should search for well-being of all people, and definitely the preservation of natural resources. And during the talks we had these days and in the communication, it was clear for me that so many people strive for preservation of natural resources, etc. Yes, which reduces somehow a reduction in consumption, definitely, and a distribution of resources, a frugality towards consumption, and especially regional economies and circular economies. And regional economies, this means for me that you should have you support primarily your regional economy in Colombia or in your nations, in your neighborhood, and in the continent you're living in, etc., etc. And it's also related, and this is also important, to social interaction. Like I just highlight a few things, like social structures and the inner being. And if we meet here or on other locations, I think we can feel it, that it's somehow the spirit we are driven by. This is something which motivates us. Well, unplug Trump means getting rid of the 5 big players. And there are at least 2 websites which summarizes European alternatives for popular web-based services, and or more specifically, open alternatives for popular services. And if you analyze it, you can see there are a lot of alternatives in different fields of internet technology. Okay, this was very briefly, then I come to open source. Just to say, this is a quote by PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is one of the very important international consulting companies, and open source, they say, is a key element and prerequisite for strengthening digital sovereignty. And digital sovereignty, this is what we need. Okay, this means availability of software by different providers, flexible operation, open data standards, what we discussed before, and transparent software so that we can analyze it, so that we can advance it, and so that we can control it. In our field, most of you will know it, it's an important organization is the Hochschule Foundation. I don't want to go into much details. You can find it on their website about the goals, the mission statement, and the vision. Just to summarize, they have a process of checking open source products and to assure that the quality is excellent. And I just highlighted a few of the things here, like QGIS, OpenLayers, GeoServer as a web server application and supported by network, or GeoNode. And here is a libraries, GDEL or OGR, which was also already mentioned these days. And Sahar, let me say Sahar is a spatial database based on PostgreSQL, of course. It's not a one-way street. Open source needs our support. We should use it. We should educate other people. Is what is going to happen also this afternoon by Hamid Reza. We should test it. We can translate it into Spanish, for example, into other language, and of course we can also financially contribute it. Let me nearly summarize with the idea of so-called barn racing. Barn racing refers to a communal construction of a barn by all members of a community. This still exists in also today in Amish and Mennonite communities in the USA. It's very, very, very interesting. And in a similar way, we can come together and create great things. Look, just the community constructs this thing in one day. Just imagine, you're a farmer, and after one day, you have a barn. Totally great. Okay, and we can do it in a similar way if we contribute with our personalities and knowledges in the different fields of geospatial science and technology for the betterment of society and environment. Now, my conclusion or invitation, follow the plans of degrowth. Think about it, what is important for you, for your personal well-being, for your personal development. Seek collaboration with others in the sense of being and supporting openness. Openness is also important if we talk to each other. And I found this quote by the former Pope Franciscus: brotherhood and sisterhood is a foundation and path to peace. It's one. And support and multiply the spirit of AGSE and apply geoinformatics for the betterment of society and environment. No, muchas gracias for listening and thank you and vielen Dank. Of course, there are many references as well. A little bit too long.
Thank you, José, for the presentation. Some questions?
Good morning. I don't have really a question. I would like to share my experience in El Salvador with decolonization. When I started to work at the university, my surprise that was they had a contract with ESRI. They were paying like $5,000 per year, And I was used to work with open source and free software, because previously I started to work at one ministry and I was developing free software. So it was really a fight at the university. I had a constant marketing from ESRI, and it was very difficult for me to get rid of it. But
it's inside the heads.
Yeah. People just thought that GIS is ESRI. In my country, people think that GIS is the same as ESRI. So for the authorities of my university, I had to work and I really had to work hard so that they could understand that GIS is more than that. So I'm also teaching one other subject at the university that is called open source applications. And I teach them, the students of informatics engineer, about open source, free software, licensing, and collaboration. And now we are not using ESRI anymore. We are using QGIS, Python, R language, and all these open source libraries. And with the students, they are taking both subjects, open source application subject and GIS. So they make a joint project and they are developing open source. So I think it's very important for us in developing countries to work in that sense. And one other thing I would like to share is that I'm in a network, it's called Mastodon. It's an alternative to Twitter. And I have met all these developers in Europe, like Anita Gracer, she's from Österreich. She's developer of QGIS. And these people, they reply your emails and they are very open. So we can collaborate with all these people and develop libraries. All the libraries that I used in my projects, you can see their code of all these machine learning libraries. They are not black boxes like in ESRI. So I think we have the task in our countries, in our developing countries, to promote open source and free software.
Short question.
Actually, it's not that kind of short, but I will make it short. Yeah, thank you very much, Juan Jose, for the nice presentation. Actually, it was one of my, motivator and put me somehow 8 years, 10 years ago into the open source. And right now I'm OSGeo charter member and one of the somehow the QGIS. And thank you very much. Thanks to you, Dietrich. And I would like to say, with around 8 years, 10 years experience, we are all agree. Open source is very strong. We are not paying, even in my company, we are just using the open source. It doesn't matter open source. JS software or databases is completely changed. But the point is that even in the university that you are right now just teaching to the students, just the QGIS even together. But the point is that in the governmental section, in the public section, they cannot trust us. This is the point. And one question to you, how we can bring them, for example, the people in the municipalities, instead of buying the S3 licenses, trust to the QGIS. What is your suggestion right now? For example, because I got a lot of requests in this way, why we should have, who is our contact person if if there is a crash in the system in this way? I would be really happy if you can answer this question. Thanks.
One different question. I want to say ESRI does a great job. They have great solutions and impressive solutions. But nevertheless, it's USA centered, definitely. Whereas the servers, okay, etc. Now regarding arguments for open source. When I was working in a private company, we were selling a GIS by IBM. It was called GTS. And then the company decided from one day to the other no longer to sell and support this system. And this means people had to move from one GIS, Geographical Information System, to another one. And they moved in Germany, they moved to CCAT. CCAT was offered by Siemens, and perhaps most of you know Siemens somehow, but now since 25 years they do not support CCAT anymore. Since institutions were forced to move a second time from CCAT to ESRI, and it was a smooth move without paying much money. But after this, but I was told a story in the municipality of Karlsruhe. Then after 1 year, they had to acquire a new license, an upgrade, and this means like for a municipality like Karlsruhe, like 100,000 euros or 90,000 euros as far as I recall. Just imagine. This is a lot of money, even for German, etc., etc. And some more like visibility and so we can analyze the source, and we have different providers. We are not linked to one provider if we have used open source things. Open source is not without struggle. Let me say this as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Too long, sorry.
Yes, maybe I can add something. Yeah, this is a process, and I think some cities in Germany are using Geoinformation to publish data. So, because it's easy to share, this is a standard. So maybe it takes some years, and I hope that in some years we will use more open source programs to publish our data. Thank you, Frank Joseph, for this very welcome.
Thank you.
So we continue with the next presentation from Dr. Engineer Wilhard Roland Tabulono. He will present the Geospatial Information Agency of Indonesia, the role of geospatial information infrastructure for large-scale topographic mapping acceleration in Indonesia.
Okay.
Mr. Tabulono, senior geospatial researcher after finished PhD from Universidad Bundeswehr München in 2020, mostly working on standardization, teaching at the State University, doing research on geospatial and disaster management, and also our program, batch of 2011, supported by the DAD, postgraduated for relevant developing countries. So, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Okay. Angela, for the nice introduction. Let me use this opportunity, Buenos dias, Guten Morgen, good morning, by give acknowledgement to the DAAD. Last May, I was invited to celebrate 100 years of DAAD internationally, and in my home country it's already 35 years. And yeah, for me personally, this is the time to also strengthen and collaborate in order to make it more longer cooperation between for my country, between Germany and Indonesia. So I just directly go to the my presentation. Actually, this was prepared by both of us, me, Wilhard Tampu-Bolon, and Professor Frank Joseph Baer, about the role of geospatial information infrastructure for the large-scale topographic mapping acceleration in Indonesia. First of all, the motivation, as Professor Angela explained from a long time ago, SDI, or spatial data infrastructure, is really a not everybody can produce or can, let's say, participate in the establishment of an SDI. As a geoinformatic, yeah, that's our job. But actually, we can also shift a little bit to the perspective of the user. The user not always understand what SDI is, but what is they needing actually? They need to extract knowledge actually, and sometimes SDI is not always can address this knowledge-based, let's say, system. That's why there is always a conflict between the geospatial guys and the user. We always thought that SDI, that's our job, for sure. But for the user, they just only want to get knowledge, actually. That's why in the trend of the technology nowadays, we should somehow shift, and also some remarkable questions also concerning this conflict, let's say. And the drivers for changing, for sure, we do need a kind of SOS, actually, system of systems, into the geoverse. Geoverse means we can use geospatial aspect in order to provide knowledge, like a gaming, the kind of geoverse, metaverse, we can extend more capability of geospatial data and information. And we still do also realize that there was an imbalance between the geospatial data access. Professor Angela also explained about the open data. But nowadays, I'm also shocked, but this is the reality. Now, Germany itself already very open with the data. We can get, for instance, the orthophoto in the large scale, we can see everything from the BKG. I don't know what is the reason behind this shifting, because I personally, in my home country, always use Germany as an example. We always push to open our data, but not to forget, Germany itself not always open to their data. But nowadays it's a little bit shifting now. I don't know exactly what is behind this this policy and why we need this system of system actually. This is really a simple example. Let's say in my home, I would like to navigate to the nearest mini market. This is just only 500 meters away. Anybody can suggest whether this route is valid or not. Just only 500 meters away from my home or from our home to the mini market. This is valid? Not really. Because we can see in the intersection there was a portal. Yeah. Because the GMaps itself only provide the, let's say, the vector data, but they don't consider an aspect like that. This is not, or this is rarely happen maybe in Germany, but in Indonesia, for example, a lot of road also, let's say, block to block the access from the outside. So this is the real example, and many of you maybe also have heard about the falsify navigating system by Google Maps. Sometimes the motor ride just entering the highway. This is almost frequently happen in Indonesia, for example. And the second example, we do know about the high resolution image services. Yeah, usually when we use this kind of image service, we just only focus on the visualization. Is that so that we don't need any geometric accuracies? Sometimes during the disaster, for instance, we just want to get the, let's say, the orthophoto or the image as soon as possible. So the geometric accuracy or the quality can be shifted a little bit. But is that really so? We can give an example by land parcel. If we have the Bing imagery, this is the service. Maybe anyone know this is the cultural heritage in Indonesia, the Borobudur Temple. This is just in the corner, the left upside corner. And usually the user just directly make let's say, to delineating the parcel, let's say. We can see here, directly we just get 1,196 square meters. And usually people just directly amazed with the high resolution of the image. But if we just do it correctly, actually the image, if we use GCP for instance, and we use an appropriate DEM or digital elevation model, we should provide an appropriate orthophotos or orthoimagery in this case by using QuickBird at the time, and we just digitize its 1,332 square meters. There was a different 136 square meter. The price in Indonesia maybe, yeah, converting to the euros, maybe 100 euros per square meter. It means already 13,000 euro, the difference. For as a buyer, I get an advantage for sure. But as a seller, you know, they just, yeah, their money just flew away. That's why we use also the information from the Land Cadastral Agency. Now it's already open. We have this Bumi ATR BPN that we can directly get an information, for instance, about the parcel. And we can see here, if we do it correctly, we can have at least the difference or the deviation is only 2 square meters. That's why this is the huge problem in developing countries. Usually they don't understand, as the user, they just only want to get the information. Either it is valid or not, they don't care about it. So this is the challenge also for us as geospatial information guys. And now I just compare to the Germany. This is the news from the GIM magazine. So the production of the digital twin of Germany already half path away. So it will be somehow produce the, let's say, the digital twin in, if I'm not mistaken, 2026. But what about Indonesia? We do need the large-scale topographic maps for the whole area of Indonesia, and we have started last year from the island of Sulawesi. It is in 5,000 map scale. This is not comparable to the digital twins because for the digital twins is one to one, yeah. And also, not to forget, because Indonesia is an archipelagic country, we have also sea or marine in between. This is also a huge challenge. Not like Germany, it is already, yeah, the marine area or the sea area is only in the northern part, but not like in Indonesia. And we can see here, actually, Germany is 5 times larger than Indonesia, but in terms of inhabitants, it is just only 3 times. You can see. Actually, the population is not a problem in Indonesia. We still have the large area to cover. But the challenge is, if we see to this visualization, if let's say this is the one Germans and we have one house, in a comparison in Indonesia, there are 3 persons, but with 5 house, you know, this is a challenge for us in Indonesia. We need a standard and we need the geospatial processing system in order to, let's say, make an appropriate acceleration. Because acceleration without any data quality or data control, it means nothing, you know. And in a comparable to Germany, even from Munich to Berlin, everything is standardized for school. Even in Oberpfaffenhofen, like a village, the standard for the school is the same, but that's not the case in Indonesia. We can have really good education in Java Island, but in the western or eastern part is another story. So this is the challenge for us in order to make an appropriate acceleration program. Now, as I mentioned before, we need a standard. I'm also shocked that Professor Schroeder asked before how we can implement the standard, because I always refer to you or to German people. You have a really good standard. That's why I always referring, not only sometimes, but always, we must somehow learn from Germany how we can somehow establish the good geospatial data. And we do choose the ISO 1931 about the data product specification. So it doesn't matter how you, let's say, produce the data, but as long as the end product fulfill or comply with the given, let's say, accuracy or about the completeness and so on, we can accept that. Either you use LiDAR or you use a terrestrial, it doesn't matter anymore. So this is our focus actually, and we do have a lot of data. That's why we choose the data product specification as the reference, because in the market we have a lot of satellite imagery, even drone, and even by using GNSS, terrestrial, mobile laser scanner, and so on. And learning from the standard, I also actually involved in the establishment of standard during my PhD, and I do saw a lot of standard available from AGSE, as Professor Baer also frequently explained, and also an ISO. So both of them are used in Indonesia. So we cannot just only rely on one standard source in this case. And not to forget about the marine, how to, let's say, cover the marine area. We do look now for the radar data. For instance, by using tandem X data from Germany as well, we can already get up to depth of 50 meters, let's say. This is already helpful enough for us to accelerate the mapping for the marine area, because marine area in Indonesia is 3 times the land area, so it's really huge. And we do now turn into the data production. That was the data acquisition. We do look also for the other alternatives. So as Professor Bear mentioned about the commercial, between commercial and open source, this is always, maybe almost 20 years issue, hot issue. But I personally think that between commercial and open source, it is like pushing a balloon. We can somehow, in the open source platform, we can somehow push the licensing, but on the other hand, we need to train the human resources, because for so long we have been so dependent with this kind of technology. This kind of shift is not like a day, let's say only by a day training, then we can directly shifting to other platform. And even in Indonesia, concerning the technology, we must also consider that for Indonesian, for instance, it is better not to have food rather than not to have internet connection. This is really problem also in the term of commercial and open source. Some public authorities still look that the commercial is the only one solution. Yeah, because objectively, I also saw many problems also when we just directly go to the open source. Yeah, and that's why we choose also the NoSQL by MongoDB, for instance, and the performance. Let's say we can directly see that by using MongoDB just only for a small, let's say, operation in order to query somehow the name, we can just only get directly 0.5 second. In a comparison with S3 software, we need 2.9 seconds, so 5 times or 3 to 4 times faster by using open source. But MongoDB itself, it is actually not really open source, because for some extension we must to buy in advance also. That's why now we turn into, after we provide the data, now we connect between its, let's say, provider or the public authorities. It is also important that we have a lot of ministry, and as we can see, at least we must establish the connection between 618 hubs, either from public authorities, from the ministry, and we must connect in one single geoportal. That's why we also look for the GeoAI. I will shift a little bit, make more, let's say, faster. As we saw, for the German area within 360,000 square kilometers, we need around 14 trillions, actually, 14.3 trillions. This is not the money, this is the point density. And you can imagine for Indonesia, 5 times this 14.3 trillions. That's why we already try to implement the GeoAI, but unfortunately, this is not really satisfying for us. That's why we need to do the semi-automatic approach. We do the QC correction in order to, let's say, improve the result from the GeoAI, let's say, building footprints production. And then we also need the GPU. This is also a huge problem for us because we need a lot of money, and GPUs is not always ready in the market. We must order in advance. And for the algorithm, I will just directly go to the result. And yeah, the hybrid platform is the only one solution, in my opinion, in this geospatial processing center that we will establish in the next 3 years. And by using the combination and integration between RDBMS and the MongoDB, we can establish a very powerful geospatial data processing platform. And by using this hybrid platform, we can directly perform the map updating as well. But not to forget, the GeoAI implementation is not always can be applied easily. As we saw here, the type of the building in Indonesia is totally different with the type of the building in Germany or in Europe. Therefore, the GeoAI must be, let's say, focused on our training data. That's why we established the training database from, let's say, from the aerial photo or from LiDAR data in order to get the best appropriate training data that can be used to implement the GeoAI itself. And now, as the end product, we need to disseminate the data. We already established the Tanah Air Indonesia Go ID. As mentioned before, we will shift to the Geo network as well in the nearest future. We will move. So we will not always using AGSE server, for instance. But to be honest, we still use that because we already bought it. And the main access is for the data download and also to use the ASN Geo service either by using WMS or WFS. And this result already can be replicated in especially in the public authorities or the sub-district or the provincial government agency, and they already provide their own hub. As I mentioned before, 618 hub, and a lot of area already provide their data. And as a conclusion, for sure, this geospatial processing center must be established in the nearest future, at least less than 3 years, because we get the loan from World Bank to, let's say, to support this huge project and ambitious project actually for the whole area of Indonesia. And not to forget, as I mentioned before, human resources still very important to be standardized. That's why the curricula must be also somehow evaluate, not 5 years maybe. Always we do look with the available technology and also align with the government strategy in order to accelerate this ambitious project. And the GeoAI, as I also learned from Professor Schroeder's presentation yesterday, it is not as easy as build a Rome in 3 days. It's not possible. That's why somehow we still do need a lot of time, especially for Indonesia, where everything is not regularized. Everything, all of you already know a lot. And the dissemination also, we must be more focused on the data quality. So not always about the quantity, but about the quality. Thanks for the attention. Thank you, vielen lieben Dank und muchas gracias.
For the presentation, we have time for one question. No? Any question? But I think this is the right way, that we go into these methods, standardization, open source, open data, and with the quality.